It's Teepa. And I'm doing a pre-recording because tomorrow morning is going to be needed for me. We have the boys, Amanda and Dan are still out of country. And the goal is I get to go do yoga at 6. And normally that would mean I could be back into SAF to do the live broadcast of Time with Teepa. However, what will happen instead is I will swing back by my house, get the boys up and going, get them to camp, get them checked in, then go over to SAF. So that means I can't be here to do this. But here's the piece I was going to do anyway. It was an article that came out in combination with a question that got asked. And the question was, I want to know more about Parkinson's related dementias because the person that I care for and I care about has Parkinson's, and they have started to have some brain changes. So, what do I need to know about it? Oof, wow. A couple of things. It sounds as though the first symptoms to appear are Parkinsonian type symptoms. That means movement problems, problems with ability to make facial muscles do what you want, to make breath control happen the way you want it to. Um, People who develop Parkinson's have alpha synuclein protein problems, the same problems people with Lewy body development do. And so it's alpha synuclein protein issues that trigger the onset of symptoms. Now, with Parkinson's, if the first symptoms are pretty much movement issues, then for the longest time, people said, okay, well, that's what's happening in all cases. So they have Parkinson's. And now we know actually people could develop Lewy body dementia and have very few Parkinson's symptoms until much later in their Lewy body. Some people may have a lot of Parkinson's symptoms and actually have very little cognitive impairment, and their cognitive impairment may not actually resemble that of Lewy body. More, it looks like Alzheimer's. So the question then becomes, of course, have we carefully evaluated to see if they also might have some beta amyloid malformations and tau pathologies? Mm-hmm. And then we have the complication that Lewy body can also hang out with other forms of dementia like ALS related dementia or a frontal temporal variation. All that to say, Parkinson's, so when someone has Parkinson's, we want to be tuned into the possibility that they might be developing a dementia that is associated with increasing more and more Parkinsonian symptoms. And we have to be careful about the difference between slowed responses and reactions due to just the changes in the sensory motor system and the slowed reactions that are due to cognitive shifts that happen with more of a dementia or cognitive changing. We also want to just think hard about, okay, so are we for sure evaluating what we think we're evaluating? So a recent article came out, and the reason I bring this up is they had indicated, which I had not heard, that many providers will say about 80% of people living with Parkinson's will develop dementia. And I would say that in my experience, it's more around 40 to 50% of people living with Parkinson's start to show signs. Generally, we'll see more of it around year 5 to 8 of active symptoms, and some people may be 12 to 15 years. And indeed, this article pointed out and identified that early in Parkinson's, there may be very few cognitive issues that are arising. And it may not be until we're well into Parkinson's that we see more of the impact on cognition. And the impact on cognition could indeed be varied. So, what does that mean for you as a care partner? Be tuned in and learn about Lewy body dementia. Be tuned in and learn about Alzheimer's. Be tuned in and learn about frontal temporal dementias and learn about the brain. Because interestingly enough, sometimes we might be misidentifying what we're seeing and handling how to support or provide support to someone. So the question today, what do you need to know? Probably more than you ever wanted to know, but what we do know is that how we live our lives and how people living with Parkinson's live their life afterward, if they pursue a more active lifestyle, whether it's something like rock steady boxing or whether it's something with our friends who do a lot of work with looking at cognition plus movement activities. Um, we have lots of connections that can be helpful with that. Primarily, we want to make sure that we we vary how we get people to engage. Affect does matter. We also know that there's more and more evidence that diet might make a difference. Gut brain connections do matter. And so some of the first origin kinds of issues of what triggers the onset of Parkinson's might actually end up being gut related. That may be true about a lot of dementias, glial cell activity too. All that to say, curiosity is a great thing. We want to be thoughtful about trying to immediately apply what we find, but we do want to be curious about, so if cognition isn't always an issue, why do people tend to think that? And I would say, well, cognition isn't an issue, but communication and interaction is. Because when I can't get my body to do what it typically would, and I also can't move my face, and my voice is very soft, and I can't produce much sound. When that happens, judgments get made, which is super unfortunate. We do know that things like music and singing and laughter can also change the dynamic. So, what do you need to know? Be curious and be supportive, and never say never, but never say always. Till next time, take care with your care. If you have more questions and you want to know more, let me know. We can follow it up with more pieces and parts about working with Parkinson's with indications of cognitive shift or without. I actually did a video workshop with a physician in Florida who's well known for his work in Parkinson's. And then I did a piece of working with care partners and working with people living with Parkinson's to actually provide some options. So if you want to know more, check it out on our website. Talk to you soon. Have a good day. Take care with your care and take care of yourself.